Hello. So I thought I'd talk about a dream I had last night. I've written it down, but it's still sort of itching, itching to come out. So I thought I'd come on here and have a chat about it. And it was effectively about two words, and those two words, or it started with two words, and the messaging coming from it, were history and heresy, and they were sort of put up there. And I was looking at them and looking at history and looking at heresy, and they morphed slightly into his story and to her say, as in her feminine say and his story. And they morphed into that, and then there was a sort of mix up of everything, and being told that his story had been mixed up and misunderstood, and her say had also been mixed up and misunderstood. Now, of course, when you look at his story, the reflections for me are around religion, God, his story, and her say is very much around what the feminine had to say and what the feminine was doing. Now, I looked up the etymology of heresy, and it says it came from a Greek word of, I think it's heresy or something, which at the time meant simply a philosophical view, but or a view of beliefs. But when Christianity came into prominence, that kind of shifted to become heresy, which was a set of beliefs that was alternate and damaging towards that new set of beliefs under his story, under history, which was fascinating to see. And the energetics of that, certainly in the stuff that I do, you feel all the way through different threads, whether it's religion or through spirituality or through, masculine versus feminine, the sort of the roots of different things. And it was actually telling me that both elements had been misunderstood. So her say was all about the feminine source of things, what the feminine is here to do, and how the sort of feminine way of healing things, and that's not just sort of all passive, but also with fire and that kind of things, was her say in doing things became heresy when his story came in. And his story was actually completely propagandized, caught up in propaganda and distorted away from the truth, the energetic truth, and the alchemical truth of what it is, which is love. So what it showed me, that really behind all the heresy, hearsay and history, his story is behind her say, I was going to say her story, which is also relevant, is truth, and behind his story is love. And then it shifted to say these two things came from the same thing, and it turns into an energetic ball. And that energetic ball was sort of sitting in a circle, actually, almost stagnant, and it needed to split to create life. And that split came out of the masculine and feminine, the love and the truth, and they separated and moved away from each other, which created a sort of void of chaos and misunderstanding and misconnection in the middle of it all. But it was necessary for that to then come back together. So truth and love came back together and formed the whole again. So there was sort of this alchemical thing of just a thing. And you know, maybe we spend too much time trying to understand where that came from, because if you then pinpoint where that came from, what's before that, and maybe we'll never understand it, who knows. But it was a very specific thing about the split of history and hearsay all getting blur and then coming back together in truth and love, and that you actually need both elements to come back to balance and to peace, which again is nothing new in yin and yang, and in black and white and light and dark. All of the aspects need to come together to make the whole. So it was an interesting view on it, but the main theme of it was just remembering that we've completely distorted both truths around the masculine and the feminine, and actually it's almost like turning it on its head, and appreciating that truth and love can exist together and do exist together and need to exist together to live in peace, I guess, and have some sort of balance is right, which may all sound all airy-fairy and oh, isn't that great, while there's wars happening in the world and people starving, the age-old thing. But getting to the nub of remembering that sort of quantum field of where we came from can help in sort of navigating through some of the chaos that we feel today. And I would say actually, and you know, a lot of the chaos, all of the chaos is self-generated by us, all of it. Who else creates it but man? And that's not to be down on man or woman either. It's just recognizing that and knowing that we also have the power to undo or reset how we are. Going off on another tangent right now when I'm talking about this, but anyway, that was my dream. History and Heresy, Hersey, his story. Fascinating. Well, it was fascinating for me, and no doubt I'll reflect on it. It did also shift something energetically in my body, because I certainly I certainly felt less agitation and pain in my body that I've been feeling recently. I do get that still sometimes, and it's almost like some internal battle is going on all the time. But when I had the dream and last night, it was so much smoother through the whole thing. It's like a big energetic shift. Anyway, if you watched, thank you. See you next time.